In 2025, some UFC fighters didn't just win, they changed their whole careers, and others lost more than just their fights. Today, I'm going to be breaking down this year's biggest winners whose stock rose all the way up to this year's biggest losers who lost way more than just a fight on their records. This isn't just about wins and losses, it's about performance, level of competition, and where these fighters stand going into the next year. Now, let's get started with the fighters who gained the most stock in 2025. First, we got Joshua Van, who arguably had the best and fastest rise to stardom out of anyone on this list. Off a TKO loss to Charles Johnson in July 2024, Van has knocked off 6 wins in a row, 4 of those coming in 2025 alone. Being one of the biggest breakout years we have ever got to witness, he not only won key fights, but did against elite competition in the flyweight division. From potential fight of the year with Brandon Royval to winning the belt after a freak accident against one of the GOATs in the division with Pantoja in a result no one saw coming, Van has the composure, striking accuracy, work ethic, and youth in becoming only the second youngest champion of all time at only 24 years old. Van will have a chance to absolutely rule the flyweight division for a really long time to come. Next, we got Michael Morales, who also had a huge 2025 at only 26 years old. Morales is a perfect 19-0 with 15 finishes, 14 of those finishes coming by way of knockout. Since entering the UFC off a win in Dana White's Contender Series, Morales has consistently shown that he is and will continue to be one of the biggest and fastest rising stars that the organization has. Not only did he finish UFC vet and legend Gilbert Burns, he finished the year off with a dominating performance against a very dangerous top contender, getting a TKO finish against Sean Brady. Morales came into the year as a talented prospect. He will be going into next year as a top contender and a fighter in the division that everyone now must respect. Moving on, we have Ian Gary, who made some serious waves for the year 2025. Bouncing back from his loss to Shavkat in December 2024, Ian was able to overcome that with victories over Carlos Prates and former champion Bilal Muhammad. Proving he can handle top-level competition, Gary's strategic striking, high fight IQ, and composure under pressure helped skyrocket his stock into a true upcoming superstar for many years to come. Finally, my last fighter who had a massive 2025 and is on quite possibly the best run of their career, we have no other than No Mercy himself, Peter Yan. For Peter, 2025 was all about reaffirming his elite level. Yan proved he's still an absolute force at the bantamweight division. With deadly striking, strong takedown defense, and elite composure, all in which helped Peter overcome slight setbacks to recapturing gold in a very highly anticipated rematch against Merab, he has stamped himself as one of the most talented, violent, and most entertaining fighters to watch in all of the UFC. Those were the top fighters with the year to never forget, but every year has their losers too. Let's take a look at the fighters who didn't have as much great of a year. First up, we got Henry Cejudo, whose 2025 didn't go exactly as he planned. Long layoffs, age, and ring rust became real factors for the former Olympic gold medalist's performance. The gap between him and the upcoming generation showed as he got picked apart and even taken down in his last fight against young, rising contender Peyton Talbot. Once considered one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time, you can't help but think since coming out of retirement, losing his last 4 in a row has been a little damaging to his legacy. Next up, we got Michael Chandler, who's still an exciting fighter in the UFC, but 2025 definitely highlighted the downside of his style. Once considered one of the most anticipated fighters to cross over from Bellator, Chandler's career in the UFC hasn't gone exactly the way he would want it. After a 2-year layoff chasing a fight with Conor McGregor, which never ended up happening, Chandler returned to action following a unanimous decision loss to Charles Oliveira and getting completely handled in a TKO loss to Paddy Pimblett. He is still fun to watch, but his stock at ever being a serious title contender took a massive hit. Leon Edwards didn't just become a bad fighter over the year, but his last few losses completely changed the perception around him. When Plan A was taken away from him, he would struggle heavily to adjust. Not only did he lose his belt getting completely dominated in a very poor performance against Bilal Muhammad the previous year, but 2025 saw the former champ getting finished in both of his fights. First getting submitted by Sean Brady, and then getting absolutely cracked and knocked out by Carlos Prates. People are starting to question, was Leon ever the very elite welterweight champion that we thought he was, or was he a fraud all along who won the belt off a very lucky leg kick? Finally, we sadly have UFC legend and future Hall of Famer, Israel Adesanya. Still considered one of the greatest middleweights of all time, you still have to acknowledge the fact that all of the activity and all the wars Izzy has gone through has played a part in his own downfall. His feeling of invincibility is gone, and people know that he is very much beatable, and that shit matters. Since finally getting his win over Alex Pereira that he wanted so badly, that's when his career started to take a turn for the wrong direction. From losing his belt in one of the biggest upsets the sport has ever seen, it was just the start of his 3-fight losing streak, which included getting finished by TKO in his only fight of the year all the way back in the beginning of February. Stock rises and falls every year in the UFC. The real question is, who moves forward and bounces back, and who doesn't?